All right, a Sunday without 49ers football, but a Sunday where the 49ers actually move up in the NFC pecking order. They began this week number 7. Of course, they were guaranteed to move up to number 6, at least number 6. They could have gone as high as number 2 if the Rams had lost and if the Seahawks had lost. Neither of those things happened, but the 49ers, because the Packers beat the Chicago Bears, really a good game where Keyshawn Nixon interception of Caleb Williams in the end zone with 22 seconds left. Packers win that game 28-21 at Lambeau. So 49ers are 9-4. They have the 4 games left in the regular season, facing Tennessee, Indianapolis, Chicago, and then closing it out against Seattle. So let's just take a look right now at the NFC standings, as you can see right there. By virtue of their win over the Cardinals, a blowout victory over the Cardinals, the Rams are 10-3. Lead the NFC West. Obviously, the first 4 teams listed there are the division leaders. That's why the Buccaneers, with a 7-6 record, still are the number 4 seed. That's just the way it works, folks, in the NFL. And so the Buccaneers, really bad loss for them at home against the lowly Saints. They lose 24-20 to the Saints. So Buccaneers there at number 4. Eagles play on Monday Night Football against the Chargers, and then the wild cards as right now the Seahawks with their victory over the Falcons, they're 10-3. The 49ers 9-4, and then the Bears go from number 1 all the way down to number 7, and then right behind these teams are the Lions at 8-5, 1 game lower, the Panthers, and then further back half a game back, the Cowboys. So that Lions victory over the Dallas Cowboys on Thursday really looks important for them just staying alive. It is kind of almost like an elimination game in the NFC. So 49ers return to action against a Tennessee Titans team that had a victory. I mean, I did not think in a million years they would be able to score as much as they did on the Cleveland Browns on this day. 31-29. Tennessee's record now is 2-11. Cam Ward still, I think the 49ers are going to come up with something to really frustrate him or just make him really go through the reads and make things difficult on him from a coverage standpoint. And I think what Tennessee will try to do is they'll want to run the football. Tony Pollard had 161 yards rushing, 2 touchdowns against the Cleveland Browns. So that's next up for the 49ers. And they're in this situation now, 9-4 record. They don't need too much to get into the postseason. But, you got to think that, their sights are that if they can run the table, if they can win these 4 games, and they have a pretty good chance of being the number 1 overall seed, which is crazy to think about. But the Rams, are they going to win all 4 of their games? I don't know. Their next 2 games are difficult. They face the Detroit Lions, who are clinging on to their playoff aspirations, and then the next week at Seattle. Rams have those 2 difficult games. Then they have a couple, I think, of pretty easy games at Atlanta, and then also back home to finish out the regular season against the Arizona Cardinals. So, as I see it right now, the NFC is tough. NFC West is tough with the Rams, Seahawks, and 49ers. I think all 3 of those teams will make it. I think in the NFC North, which is kind of on par with the NFC West, at least at the top of that division, but I think that these teams are going to kind of cannibalize themselves. The Bears are 9-4. They should beat Cleveland, but then their last 3 games at home against Green Bay, at San Francisco, and then against Detroit. With Green Bay, they're at Denver, not an easy game. At Chicago, not an easy game. And then their last 2 games, they should handle. Baltimore, which isn't very good, and the Vikings. And then Detroit, they're right now on the outside looking in. They go to the Rams. That'll be a tough one. And then against Pittsburgh, at Minnesota, and then finish up against Chicago. So when you look at it, I think that there, two of the teams in the North are going to get into the postseason. I think all three of the teams in the NFC West will get into the postseason. But from the 49ers standpoint, if you just look behind where they are right there, they just got to hold off Detroit. I don't think the Panthers are much of an issue because the 49ers have that head-to-head victory over them. So that 2-game lead they have on the Panthers is in reality a 3-game lead with 4 to play. So that's where things are as the 49ers close out the regular season with those 4 games left. And the playoff picture is really it's interesting because there hasn't been one team that's separated themselves. There's really not. I think the Rams are still probably the favorite in the NFC. I think in the AFC, wide open, but even behind the Rams, wide open after that. I think it's not too much to ask for one of those wild card teams to go on the road, certainly, and beat Tampa Bay or whoever. Well, Tampa Bay will win the. I shouldn't say that. I was going to say Tampa Bay is going to win the NFC South, but that's not necessarily a given either. When you look at that division and when you look at the schedule of those teams, Carolina, after that really poor performance against the 49ers on Monday night, but then they come back and they beat the Rams, and the remainder of their schedule, not easy. They had the bye week this week, but they play at New Orleans next week, and then their last 3 games, Tampa Bay, Seattle, and Tampa Bay. So the NFC South will most certainly be decided, I would think, in those week 16 and 18 games. Obviously, whoever wins the game week 16 has the edge as far as being able to finish off the season sweep there. So that's where things are as far as the playoff situation for the 49ers and the entire NFC as a whole. 49ers get back to work this week, preparing to face the Tennessee Titans. There's this thought when the schedule came out, 49ers were at a disadvantage because they had to play 14 games before the bye week came. Now, I think once they got to week 14, I think they were looking forward to being able to rest their bodies and maybe kind of get re-energized a little bit for that playoff push for the final 4 weeks, the final month of the regular season. And so, the guys who can benefit from this, I think pretty much everybody. Maybe you could make an argument the one guy who would not benefit from it as much as the others and might actually hurt him a little bit would be Brock Purdy. And the reason for that is because he's already missed 8 games this season. And he came back and has played the 3 games, 2 of which have been good. One wasn't very good, but just kind of knocking off the rust and getting back into the swing of things. And so we don't know exactly how that toe is feeling, but if it was sore in any way, and it's something that he said that he's going to have to manage this the rest of the season. He knows it's not going away, but he's obviously in good enough health to be able to practice the entire week and then play in the games. But I would think that he there's 2 ways to look at it. Either he benefits from just giving that toe 1 week of inactivity, but the other part of it is, he hasn't seen it. He hasn't, played much football this season, and here we are heading into the 2nd week in December, and this is when a quarterback has to be kind of feeling his stride and playing good football. And I think Brock has had a difficult time just gaining that consistency because he hasn't been out there very much. So he's the one guy where I think it's kind of borderline whether this week off helps him or not. But everybody else, I mean, guys like Christian McCaffrey, who, leads the NFL in touches, getting him this opportunity to get off his feet and rest and just recover. He can go into the final 4 games of the regular season feeling fresh after not taking any hits this past week. Other guys, I mean, you could just pretty much go up and down the 49ers lineup. One thing I wanted to address, and I certainly don't know the answer to this, and I'm curious to see how this plays out, because I do think that Tatum Bethune has played well since taking over for Fred Warner. But for the 49ers to go out and get a veteran like Eric Kendricks kind of makes you think, like, what's the plan there? And I think the plan would be, if Bethune isn't available to play week 15 against the Tennessee Titans, maybe Kendrick, who's now been in the building for a couple of weeks, maybe he has an opportunity to get out there and start for this team at middle linebacker, where Curtis Robinson has started. But Bethune, coming off the high ankle sprain, if he's not ready to go, maybe you see Kendricks, based on, or I should say, how he's played and practiced, how much of the system he knows. I mean, this is a veteran guy who's played a lot of football. So 49ers had to have a plan when they signed him. And for Kendricks, with the veteran that he is, he just wouldn't go someplace where he didn't feel like he had an opportunity to sign on the practice squad, but actually playing games. So that's one that's going to be interesting to monitor. Do they want to get Kendricks up to speed so that he's their linebacker late here in the season, heading into the postseason? Or is he merely just an insurance policy with Tatum Bethune as being the main guy? Yeah, I don't think they're going to move him around. One of the things that caused him, I think, to get cold feet when he agreed to sign with the 49ers before the 2024 season was that he knew he wasn't going to be the middle linebacker. He was going to be the weak side linebacker. So that's going to play out to see if he has a role on this team and how much he can help the 49ers as they march toward what looks to be a playoff season for them. So 49ers have an opportunity to get some players back for this game. Eddie Pinheiro, by all accounts, he's making progress and he should be available. Matt Gay is currently still on the practice squad. And so I don't know if they'll keep him around on the practice squad for a little bit until Eddie is fully cleared and ready to go, or maybe even a game or so after Pinheiro is cleared and ready to play. So Pinheiro should be back. A chance that Bethune will be back. And then Sam Okwanu probably might miss a little bit more time after this. And then the 49ers do expect at some point Yetur Gross-Matos to be back, depending on how he worked out, probably over the weekend or during the bye week. The one thing, certainly I don't think any 49er fans are holding their breath about Brandon Aiyuk. There's simply no indication whatsoever that he's going to be a guy who can get on the field for this team at any point this season. And if not this season, then probably never. More than likely a parting and ending of that union between the 49ers and Brandon Aiyuk will be coming at some point in the offseason. What that looks like, would it be a trade? I don't know if any team would trade for Brandon Aiyuk, or just simply an agreement. In other words, agree to disagree, and they just kind of move on. And I think I kind of get the sense that this thing has run its course. Both Brandon, his thoughts about the 49ers and the 49ers thoughts about Brandon Aiyuk. So there it is, 49ers, a Sunday without football, but moving on up in the NFC playoff picture. So thanks so much for watching this video, and that is it for now.